Thank you. So welcome to Introduction to Prospect Research, Individual Donors. This is a Forefront Library workshop. My name is Christina Caputo. I am one of Forefront's librarians. I am joined by Rita Kerrigan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're so happy to hear you. To have you here. I'm Rita Kerrigan. I am the other Forefront librarian.
This workshop is going to be recorded. If you have questions, we would love to answer your questions, and we welcome questions. Please feel free to enter your questions in the chat, and we will either answer them in real time or we'll answer them at the end of our presentation. This is my email. It's up on the screen, ccaputo@myforefront.org, and Rita Kerrigan's email are kerrigan@myforefront.org. Again, both of us are the Forefront librarians, and we would love to chat with you, and you can connect with us via our email. We are going to send out a PDF of this presentation. So if you don't write them down right now, don't worry. We will send you a PDF of this presentation. So, Forefront. If you're not familiar with Forefront, we are Illinois' statewide association that represents nonprofits, grant makers, advisors, and allies. So we represent the social impact sector here in Illinois. We were formerly had the name Donors Forum or Donors Forum of Chicago. We provide quality programming, strategic advocacy, and dedication to advancing racial equity. We support creating a united and thriving social impact sector that's transformative and on the well-being and security and equity for all the people of Illinois. And our mission is to build a vibrant social impact sector for all the people of Illinois. Forefront members. We are a statewide association and a membership association. So we have a membership, various memberships. We have nonprofit memberships, grant maker memberships, and advisor memberships. And there's a QR code that's on the screen that you can learn more about membership if you are not a member. Some of our benefits and services that we offer are open to all. Some of them are for our membership base only. Some of our member-only opportunities are peer skill share, and we are actually joined with Emily. She's on the back end of this. She's our program manager. She's controlling our Zoom today. We're so lucky that she's joined us. And she runs the Peer Skillshare program, which is absolutely incredible. If you have not engaged with it and you are a Forefront member, it's where you will be able to be connected with a peer who's working in the field, and you can have a one-off conversation. And it's so beneficial. We also offer for members remote research from the Forefront Library. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, because both Rita and I are Forefront librarians, and we have member networks, and we have a Forefront job board, amongst other member benefits. So you can learn more by scanning that QR code or visiting our website at myforefront.org. One of the very unique services that we have here at Forefront is we have the Forefront Library. The Forefront Library was established as a special library back in 1973. So back before Forefront was even established as an association, the Forefront Library was formed. And we have rare, unique, and highly specialized information within our historical archives. And so it is very, very unique in the sense of the services that we offer, because we are a specialized library that focuses on the social impact sector here. And it's not just in Illinois. We've worked with organizations as far away as Alaska. So I share that with you because I think it's really neat that our services have expanded that far to create a vibrant social impact sector for not just the people of Illinois, but for the people in the United States and beyond. So we are the only statewide association in the country that has professional librarians on staff and a specialized library. It once was in-person library, and now it is a remote virtual library. We support research and inquiry, and we provide access to whether it's prospect research or grant-seeking samples, template salary schedules, job descriptions, truly anything and everything that you can imagine within the social impact sector. We provide equitable access. We transitioned to a fully remote library back in I think early 2024, and that is in alignment with our strategic plan so we can bring our services to you wherever you are. And we are able to connect with you virtually, on the phone. Um, Even we can come to you if you would like. So it's something that we can always talk about. And you have access to us through the membership at Forefront, through the library of subject experts, as Rita and myself, um, with professional librarians on staff. With that, we are a library, so we adhere to the American Ethics and the American Library Association Ethics and Standards of Librarianship. All of our conversations that we have with our members and patrons, library patrons, are confidential and they're held in strictest confidence. We do not censor information. We provide you with the information that you need to create an impact. So you tell us what your informational need is, and we provide you with the resources in order to serve your community or do whatever it is that is going to fulfill your informational need. Some of what we offer here, we have various databases. We have Candid, which is the GuideStar and Foundation Directory online, most commonly used. We have Catholic Funding Guide, iWave, which we're going to be talking about today, and we offer EBSCO. We offer sector research with best practices, templates and samples, curated research. We have salary and benefit reports, and we offer workshops just like we're offering today. We also have small group sessions that we offer or professional development opportunities for your board or for your organization or within your regional area. You just let us know, and we're happy to see what we can do to fulfill your informational need. We also have LibGuides, and LibGuides is a platform that many libraries use, and they are curated research guides. So it's an online research guide. Typically, they're organized by topic. So we do have one that you'll see further on in this presentation that is a LibGuide on Introduction to Prospect Research, Individual Donors. So we create an online research guide on a various topic, and it will have various links and resources within that topic guide that the librarians curate and compile for you. If there is a topic that, we don't have a LibGuide on, please let us know. And if it's a topic that would be beneficial to the sector or to other organizations, we're happy to see if we would be able to create a LibGuide on that research for you. But you have to let us know. So, what is prospect research? Prospect research is the process of identifying target donor audiences. It's analyzing their giving capacity and relevance to organizational goals and prioritizing according to the most suited prospects. It's often referred to as donor research or donor prospecting. As nonprofit organizations, sometimes our goals are to maximize fundraising efforts by focusing on individuals, foundations, or corporations that have a high likelihood to support our organization's mission and vision. Prospect research is a data driven strategy which allows nonprofit organizations to make informed decisions about who to approach for donations and how to cultivate and maintain long term relationships with our prospects. Today, we're talking about individual donors. Have you ever heard of the saying? Well, let me back up. You may think to yourself, well, why is prospect research so important? Well, have you ever heard of the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket? Absolutely can say that prospect research supports this saying because what we mean by that is relying on just one or two donors is risky, just like relying on one grant is risky for our nonprofit organizations. Because if these donors shift their priorities, experience changes, or even pass away, if they have changes in their finances or simply decide to give to a different organization or give elsewhere, our organizations can be left vulnerable. Prospect research helps us avoid that. It allows us to identify and learn about a wider pool of potential supporters. By spreading our efforts across many relationships, we create more stable and resilient funding base. It's also about alignment. You see, every donor has different interests and motivations, just like we all have different interests and motivations, right? And each of our organizations has a different mission. So, through research, we can connect the right people to the right programs instead of depending on one source to carry out the whole load. So in short, prospect research makes sure our organization is not placing all of our eggs in one basket, but instead it's building a long-term stability through a diverse, well-matched community of donors. Another way I like to describe it is diversifying our funding stream. Now, I borrowed this image from Candid, so thank you to Candid. Diversifying our funding source is a critical strategy for balancing, right? Here, if you imagine, here's a stream. Here's our organization right here. And here's the stream with all these different funding sources running to us. But if you only have one funding source and the stream gets cut off, the stream gets cut off into the river, right? Because we're right here. What happens? It can be detrimental to our organization. So prospect research helps our nonprofits and helps us reduce reliance on many single donors or grants and to maintain our stability. Historical data shows that organizations with diverse revenue streams fare better in times of uncertainty because there's multiple streams that are feeding into the river, feeding into our organization. Depending on one funding stream can put us at risk if that stream or that source goes away. And that's why we focus on building a healthy mix of donors, foundations, corporate partners, government support, or events, perhaps even earned income, um, various avenues of support for our organization. Because when these streams work together, our organization is more stable, more flexible, and better positioned for long-term stability. Diversifying our stream means having a funding pipeline that expanding the types of donors and funding sources that are involved, rather relying on just a few key contributors. It includes looking at corporate giving, applying for grants, and looking at individual donors that match our mission. That's what we're going to talk about today. Because by doing so, nonprofits can create a more resilient and sustainable fundraising model. So, this summer, the Giving in USA report comes out. And the 2025 Giving in USA 2025 report came out, and this is available for Forefront members through the Forefront Library if you're interested. So please let us know. And it provides authoritative estimates and amounts on charitable giving across the United States. The reason I want to talk about this today, and I want to show this to you if you're not familiar before we really dig into individual donors, is because sometimes, and now I've been a librarian for almost 20 years, actually over 20 years. So I've been doing this a long time of providing resources to the community. But what I've learned and what I've heard in my tenure as a librarian is sometimes people will say, oh, I just have one grant. I'm good to go. And it's amazing to get that big grant. We're so thrilled when you do. I can't even tell you how happy we are when you do. However, look here at this. In 2024, so this is retroactive, it's going back a year because that's what the data it's looking at. Americans gave $592 billion to charity. So that's over $1.6 billion every day. I think that's a lot of money. And you may think, where did that generosity come from? Because I think that. Now, 66% of that amount came from individuals. 8% is by bequest. So what is that? 74% came from individuals. That's a lot. It's a big percentage. Where 19% came from foundations. So why I say that and why I always like to talk about it before we really dig in is individuals have the ability, to support organizations. Individuals just like you and I have the ability to support organizations through as much as we can, as much as they can give. So individual donors are very important for nonprofits. Now, before we seek funding, and this is advice I'm going to give before we seek funding for any sort of funding, individuals, grants, governmental, before we go for pay for service, anything. Organize your files before we reach out to any type of donor. It's essential for our nonprofits, for ourselves to be organized. Because when we come to the table with a clear case statements, case for support, with our mission and budgets, impact stories, we're showing a professionalism and credibility. And what you may think, though, what does that look like? It depends on your organization. You may have it in the cloud, you may have it on intranet, you may have it in a file folder. Making sure you have all your ducks in a row, right? Another saying, all your ducks in a row. Have your information in and organized so you are able to seek funding. What you may include your nonprofit mission and vision, information about your organization, the history, information about your administration, your staff, and your board, program information with data, or major accomplishments, whether it's historical or within the past year. What has your organization done? Or if you're a new organization, what would your organization like to do? Strategic plan. If you have a strategic plan, having that ready to go, and a budget. A case for support. So that can be, what is it that you, again, what is it that you'd like to do? What is it that you need in order to do that? And then having your annual impact report. So this is what Rita and I compile every year. And we share it with our development team, and we share it with anyone who'd like to learn more about the library. But we have information about what we do and how we serve our community, just snippets of information, right? So shares, this is what we created, just shows our impact, what we did, what did we do over the course of the year. So you can have quantitative or qualitative data, depends on what you'd like to share with whoever you're talking to or your community. There also is a webinar. It says, before you seek a grant, a checklist for new nonprofits. So if this is something that if you are looking, a newer nonprofit, you can click on this webinar when we send you information, or I can send you the link and you can learn more about that. One thing I always recommend, and if you've worked with me, you know I'm going to talk about GuideStar because I love GuideStar, but not just because it's not a Christina thing. This is an amazing resource to use for you, for your nonprofit, and it's free. GuideStar, it's just guidestar.org. And there's a link on my next slide, or a QR code on the next slide. It is an important resource for individual donors because it gives them a trusted, centralized place to learn about nonprofits. Donors want transparency. They do. They want to see how your organization is structured, what its mission is, and how it used the resources before deciding to give. So on GuideStar, donors can access your information. This is for established nonprofits. So I should go back and say that. If you are a nonprofit, if you filed a 990, you will have a GuideStar. GuideStar scrapes the 990s and puts them into a shell of a profile. And so if you're a new nonprofit, you will not have a GuideStar at this time. If you are fiscally sponsored, you won't have a GuideStar either. But if you're fiscally sponsored, reach out to your sponsor organization and ask if they could put a little blurb about you on their GuideStar. That's my advice to you. But for donors who, GuideStar is very important. Let me just say it that way. It's very, very important. And so for nonprofits, keeping a GuideStar profile up to date is very important. I call these our dating profiles. So yes, a donor can go to your website, they can go to your Instagram, they can go to your social media, but GuideStar is going to be a centralized place where they can get an idea of your organization within a GuideStar profile. It's a trusted source of information, so I absolutely highly advise you to claim and update your profile. You may say, okay, Christina, enough talking about it. How do I do it? So on this slide here, if you scan this through your phone, or we'll send you the link in the follow-up email, but you claim your profile, you get approved, and you start updating your profile and telling your story. So one way nonprofits can demonstrate transparency to funders, any type of funder, including individuals, is earning a seal of transparency. This creates an online profile for every tax-exempt organization in United States. Nonprofits can choose to share their information about the organization on their profile. So you can put about mission and vision, you can put donation information, program information, photos. You can put whatever you'd like to tell your story on your GuideStar. And then you can earn various seals of transparency depending on how much information that you provide. And then actually, I'm going to go to this one first. So this is what the transparency looks like. This is Forefront's. We've updated ours, and it has a transparency up here in the corner that says we have a platinum transparency. It's the highest level of transparency of what we can share on our profile. You may think, okay, why is this important? Well, data has shown in one of the latest white papers that has come out from Candid, data confirms that nonprofit transparency boosts contributions to nonprofits. Funders give 62% more on average to organizations that have a seal of transparency. 62% more is given to organizations that have a seal of transparency. And if you're a small nonprofit, you can also earn some access to Foundation Directory. Now, Foundation Directory, if you've worked with us or if you're familiar, if you're thinking about grants, looking for grants, Foundation Directory is a very comprehensive database that is used for grant seeking. So if you're a small nonprofit with a budget under 1 million and you update your profile and you get to a gold transparency, you can have free access, remote access to Foundation Directory. So it's really, really important if you're looking for grants. Now, let me go back. Okay, why should I update? Well, 62%, that's a pretty big span, right? Pretty big percentage. It's a best practice, but GuideStar is more than just a database, donor database for doing research. It's also a backbone for other fundraising platforms. I don't know if you knew this. When nonprofits keep their GuideStar profile up to date, that information is directly linked to Facebook and Instagram, Meta. So anything Meta. Have you ever seen if you're on social media, instead of giving me a birthday gift, give to this organization, that's linked from your GuideStar. So when someone clicks to donate, it's coming straight from GuideStar. So we want to make sure our donors or potential donors, if they're learning about your organization, even through social media, that information is up to date. And you can do that just by updating your GuideStar. And the same is true for donor advised funds or DAFs. These are using GuideStar as well. So I love GuideStar. I can go on and on about it if you haven't noticed. However, let's talk individual donors. Where should I start? Well, remember, organize yourself, get all your ducks in a row. Okay. Update your GuideStar. Then, if you're an established nonprofit, use your donor database. Whatever you have whether it's an Excel spreadsheet, a handwritten, binder that you may have, if you have an established CRM, if you have a donor database, whatever you have, organize it. Make sure that because this is where your information is. So look at your current donors and your volunteers. Update your internal database or records for them. You may think, well, I've already tapped into them enough. Well, you know what? What about your lapsed donors? Do you have any lapsed donors? Is there someone that you can reach out to connect with them and ask for referrals or advice? Ask why they give. If you want to survey your donors, have an evergreen survey. This is critical information. Here at the Forefront Library, we have a survey that we have out. And I asked for one to be evergreen, meaning it's rolling. It's a rolling survey. I asked for this for multiple reasons. One is, if Rita and I know what your needs are informationally, we can serve you better, right? If maybe you don't want to tell us, and you don't want to tell us like in a phone call or via email, and that's cool. You can tell us in our survey. But we have an evergreen survey that's just asking, what is it that either we can do better? What is it that, you've enjoyed with our services? And so when we have that information, we're able to serve you to the best of our ability. Now, if you ask your donors, why did they give to you? And what is it that they care about? Those answers can guide you on a strategy for engagement for future asks. Now, having a strategy. I love a strategy. But a funding strategy or even a fundraising plan is important for individual donors, just as it's important for, grant seeking or governmental funding. Donors want to see that the nonprofit has thought carefully about how it will sustain its work. When they give, they're not just investing in your program, they're investing in the organization's ability to plan ahead and use these resources wisely. Having a plan shows professionalism, accountability, and vision, and it signals that a nonprofit isn't operating on impulse. It's sticking with its mission, and it has a roadmap for growth, stability, and impact. For individual donors, that level of planning builds love, trust, and confidence. And it reassures them that their contributions are a part of a bigger, well thought out strategy, not just short term fix. Um, a fundraising planner. This is a sample of one that's up on the screen. A fundraising planner for individual donors is a tool that helps nonprofits make a structured approach to building and sustaining donor relationships. Now, it does not have to look like this. It can be in your CRM, or it can be on a piece of paper, it can be in an Excel spreadsheet. It can be however it works best for your organization. But having a plan, a strategy, a planner, whether it's, goes across your organization, or it's used to just keeps yourself organized, it can help lay out how identifying prospects, engaging with them, how you make the ask, and stewarding their support over time. It ensures that a planner ensures that we're not just reacting, but instead we're guiding ourselves and people through a well thought out journey. From interest to commitment to long term partnership, it helps us track where our donors are in that journey so no one ever gets overlooked. Well, why do people give? Well, there's many various reasons that why people give. But one of the reasons, and this is from nonprofitfundraising.com, is that they were asked. Number one reason a donor decides to give, they said, is because they were asked. If people don't know, how can they give, right? And so researching individual philanthropists is somewhat difficult, a little bit more difficult or harder to do than when we're looking for grant seeking, right? When we grant seek, we can look at a 990 and we can see past giving history from organization to organization. When it comes to individuals, that's a little different because it's individual giving. So they don't have to report it where organizations do. Foundations do have to report it on their 990, individuals don't. We can find information through public data, and that's what I'm going to show you. Um, and so there isn't necessarily a comprehensive source that reveals who gives to a specific charity, not like it is in the 990, is what I'm saying, because the IRS doesn't require most nonprofits to tell you where the donations come from. So you may think, okay, Christina, that sounds bad. It doesn't, because you know what? When you are a Forefront member, you work with Rita and I, we can absolutely support you when you're going to look for individual donors. Now, do Rita or I myself find the donors for you? No. We use Kindside iWave. This is just what the platform looks like. And we offer screenings of individuals. We don't find the donors for you. When we do grant seeking, we will talk with you. We find out what you're looking to fund. We will, create a huge, if you want, or a small, anywhere in between, prospect research packet for you when it comes to grants. Individuals is different because we're not generating leads for you. We're using names and information of who you give us. And so that can be, we provide custom research, but you have to give us a name. You have to give us an address or an area where this person is. And I can show you off. I'm not going to do a live because we're recording. I'm not going to do a live search while we're recording because it's people, right, and their data. So if you'd like to stay on after we end the recording, I'm happy to log into Kindside iWave and we can do a sample search for you. So you can just see what it looks like in live time, what these profiles generate, and the information that we can find and look at when we are searching. So bear in mind with that, if that's interesting to you, let us know in the chat, and we're absolutely happy to do that. But this is just what the Kindside iWave looks like. And we enter their name, their country, we will screen them for you, and we can find various information. What we'll find, and this is just a sample profile, we will find out their iWave score, and this is just their affinity to give. We can find their planned giving score. This is various numbers, like 4 being the strongest and 1 being the weakest. And we can find what their giving interests are. We can find their largest giving capacity. Does this mean what they have in the bank? No, we can't find that out. But it can show what they could give to you based on various criteria. It can show their total charitable gifts and their real estate value, political contributions. It can show if they have a plane or a boat. They can show all this really cool information. And so from there, then it would be for our organizations to determine if that's going to be a solid prospect for you. So there's various databases that are used for this. We use Kindsight iWave here at Forefront, and that's what we offer to our members. Rita and I do all the research for our members. Our members can submit 20 individuals per week. We do have a template that you can share that information with us. Again, everything that you do share with us as we are a library is confidential and held in the strictest confidence. We're not using and sharing your, um, sorry, we're not sharing your prospects with anybody else. So that's why we don't give access to this database to anybody else. It's because we're using it. And so we're using it to just screen and serve you. So we're not giving that database access to anybody. And that's why we do it. Anyway, here, if you go to library.myforefront.org/prospect research donors, you'll find a LibGuide where we have various content that is for prospect research for individual donors. There also is on one of the tabs, I think it's the Find and Engage Donor tab, you'll find some fundraising planners and a template to edit if you're looking for one or if you need one. There's various information on that LibGuide. But at the end of the day, when we talk about individual donors, it's about relationships and trust. You'll find the strongest level of trust from people who already know you well. Because you may be thinking, okay,
Are you
Christina,
muted?
that's really nice that, you offer the service at Forefront, but what do I do? Like, I don't know who to ask, or I don't even know who to screen. Well, we can screen your board. We can screen anyone who's given to your organization in the past. If you're a brand new organization, we can screen your neighbors. We can screen anybody you want. You have to know somebody, and that's what I always say. And people will say, "Well, we don't know anybody." Well, think about it. Who has an interest or could potentially have an interest in your organization? Likely, it's going to be your board that we could start with. And that's always what I say. Bring on the board. So this is what you may think, oh, well, I don't want to ask my board for anything. And that's okay. You may not want to ask them. This is going to be within your bylaws, right? And your board engagement, your board documents that you have, especially for new nonprofits. You're going to establish if they are going to have a give-get policy within your organization, if you're going to be asking your board to give donations, or if it's, a give as you want kind of situation. So that's up to your organization, what you decide to do when it comes to, financial giving. However, part of the board's fiduciary responsibility is ensuring that your organization, if they sit on the board, they have a legal responsibility to ensure that organization has financial resources that it needs and that those resources are being managed responsibly. That's why every board member should make some sort of contribution, whether it's, giving financially, whether it's giving in volunteering, whether it's advice, giving something. It doesn't have to be a financial ask, and that's up to your organization again to decide. But we can screen your board. And from there, we can see, if they've served on another board, we can see, what their other or giving has been to other organizations. And this can be for anybody. It can be for, Billy Bob who lives next door to you. We can see, their contributions, if they've given any charitable contributions to another organization, and why that's useful to us as fundraisers is if, say, Billy Bob is giving my organization $5, right, per year, and I see that he's giving, I don't know, $100 to this other organization, I can see that he has the ability to give more, and I can potentially increase my ask. And so that's why that can be very useful. Now, I have the 3 A's: ask, access, advice. So when we come to our board, we can ask our board members if they feel comfortable making a direct fundraising ask. That means to, with grant seeking organizations or for foundations or to another individual or to anybody. Access. Some of our board members or anyone, individuals, may not want to make the ask themselves, but they can connect to networks by introducing potential donors, partners, or sponsors. And advice. Sometimes the most valuable contribution is strategic advice and helping think through opportunities and refining our approach, and I put and bringing their professional expertise. That can be invaluable, I found. So when you don't know who to ask, lean into your board. Now I have this, came up with it years and years ago. I have this theory, but I don't call it a theory. It's like this notion. I call it grow, deepen, engage. Grow your network, you deepen the relationship, and then you engage. So grow your network, deepen the relationship, and then you ask. Okay, grow, deepen, engage. So when you want to grow, who can you ask for connections? Because essentially that's really we want to grow. We want to grow our connections. We want to build this relationship base that we are eventually going to be able to ask. Now, does it happen overnight? No, it doesn't. I often relate this to when we're dating, right? Like I'm married, but my husband, it took him a long time. He had to court me. He had to take me on dates. He had to call me. I had to get to know if I wanted to, you know, if I liked him, if I liked what he had to say. And the same thing I want you to think about, not that you're going to marry a nonprofit or marry this donor, but building that relationship through trust and transparency and support. So growing it takes time to build that relationship, whether it's a friendship or dating, right? You can associate it well. So building the relationship with your board, thinking about civic groups. Where can you be involved with? Is there a chamber of commerce that you can be involved with in your neighborhood or in your area? Is there a public library? Many public libraries have nonprofit groups or business groups. If you are local to Chicago, Arlington Heights Memorial Library, they have a nonprofit networking group. Gail Borden in Elgin has a nonprofit networking group. I was just at the Vernon Area Public Library. They have a nonprofit group that meets. So, becoming engaged, growing that network, and leaning into the resources that are available for free. And your personal involvement. And I guess this can go back to civic groups too. Your personal involvement. Where are you involved? Are you involved in, I don't know, Girl Scouts? Are you involved in your church, your kids' school? Are you involved in environmental groups? Growing what you're involved in and seeing if there's anyone there that could have an interest within your network. If you're not comfortable doing that and you are on LinkedIn, you can always, let me say, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I share opportunities, grant opportunities, funding opportunities, tips and tricks. I'll share that on my LinkedIn. So please feel free to connect with me. It's linkedin.com/in, I guess, slash Christina Giovanelli slash. It's there. So please feel free to connect with me. We can help grow your network that way. And so that's just an easy way to leverage your organization for visibility too. Using social media and absolutely, what I'm going to say now, absolutely using your guide star. So these are ways that you can grow. So that's what we want to do. We want to grow, right? Then, now, if you have volunteers, you may think, okay, they're already donating their time, right? Well, yeah, absolutely, they're donating their time. But is it too much to ask for monetary gifts? Well, yes and no, right? Um, Trends show that volunteers want to donate money, whether it's that they can, maybe people can't, right? But volunteering for your organization, if you have volunteers, um, that's priceless too, because they know people, they have friends, they can share information about your nonprofit. So it's always about growing the network. That's one of my strategies. A 2020 study, a third of millennials gave more monetary donations because they were volunteers at their organization. So maybe they learn about your organization, they start volunteering, and then they start giving. Individuals give on a cycle typically, whether it's, I'm involved in my church. We give weekly through the weekly offering. Some nonprofits you give weekly, monthly, whenever you can, but it could be on a cycle. And so that can be a way to sustain organizations where grants can come in this big, beautiful amount, but it may come in a 1 year or multi-year grant, in this big amount. And so then it may end when it's over. So individuals can give on a cycle. And that's something to always remember. You can always have ongoing cycle giving. So individual or volunteers can support through, social media engagement. You can have survey information out there. Volunteers are very important if that's something that your organization needs. don't discount those because they're not just giving, they have the potential to give monetarily, but they have the potential to give through their time. And so that's something important. Now, you may think, okay, I need some more help. That's cool. I need help. Sometimes when I'm walking around the Jewel's a grocery store here in Illinois, in Chicagoland area, I put a webinar on and I just listen to these. And nerd out because I love learning about how to help all of you. And so when I found Candid Learning is great. I love Candid Learning. Another one I found that's really great and it's free is called the Fundraising Academy, and they have free online classes. It's a free online learning portal, and you can sign up as you wish. And so they offer a cause selling guide, and that is for relationship driven fundraising. And it talks about in this cost selling cycle about how to really dig in more for individual donors. And I thought it was very good. So I'd be remiss if I didn't share that with you. Now, we have for Forefront, we have our annual summit that's coming up in like 2 weeks, which is so exciting. And we're so excited about it. We're gathering in Springfield. You're all obviously welcome. Here's the link to register. Um, and it's September 30th in Springfield, and we're going to be talking about community of care, strengthening connections across Illinois. And Rita's going to be maintaining things here for us, and I will be there talking with a session called Conversations Unscripted. So we're super excited to see all of you in person in real life. Now, do you have any questions for me that I can answer? Rita, were there any questions in the chat?
There was one just
Okay,
regarding individual and family foundations, and I entered it in the chat. So
beautiful. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for me or Rita? Would you like me to show you the database in real time?
here's a question. Are there
Yeah.
tools we can access via Forefront that allow us to research individual donors? So that would lead into what you were
Yes.
doing there.
Forefront members have 20 profiles that we can screen per week, 20 individuals that we will screen per week. That is something that Rita and I will do for our members, and then we will provide it back to you via email.
So I just saw there was a clarification asking on our own. So no, that is the access is through the Forefront Librarians. So I had put the link, there's an iWave template that we use. That link is in the chat. And so you fill out your information for your up to 20 donors, you send that back to us, and then we run those profiles and provide you with them.
Thank you, Rita. Emily, would you be able to stop recording